Okay, so before we start talking about Trevor Gott, spoiler alert, I guess spoiler, title of the video is right there. And before we talk about the trade that the Mariners made today, very small one, but a trade regardless, let us all congratulate the Texas Rangers, or at least let me congratulate the Texas Rangers, because winning a World Series is pretty darn cool. Pretty darn cool. And, were they a consistent team in the regular season? No. Good enough. And once they got into the postseason, they kind of shoved. Now, look, they needed to win 2 games on the road, and they went undefeated on the road, which is so incredible. You could talk about how home field advantage doesn't mean as much in baseball and all that stuff. Okay, fine. They won 11 games on the road. That's insane. That's an insanely impressive number, and good for you, Texas. And, you can talk about the player development. You could talk about the good draft picks they've made. You can talk about scouring the international market. They do it as well as anybody. Where is that team without the money they spent on Corey Seager and Marcus Semien? Not winning a World Series without those guys. I think I've said all that needs to be said on that subject, but congratulations to them. Congratulations to the Diamondbacks. I really would have loved to have seen Paul Sewald get a ring. I hate that he didn't pitch very well in this World Series, but they don't get there without him. He was huge for them at the end of the regular season, and he was massive for them in the postseason leading into the World Series. So congrats to the Rangers. Congrats to the Diamondbacks. Someday, we'll be talking about the Seattle Mariners. For right now, I'd like to talk about Simply Seattle and thank them for sponsoring the show and say that they have the very best in Seattle sports gear. Lots of good stuff for the Mariners, the Huskies, the Sonics, the Sounders, the Cougars, the Storm. Whoever you could be looking for, you can find their gear at simplyseattle.com. And once you find all your goodies, use code MOLLYWOP15 to save 15% off your order. MOLLYWHOP15 at www.simplyseattle.com. They're the best. We thank them so much for sponsoring the show. I'm going to pause for just 1 sec because I have to blow my nose. Too much information? Maybe, but it happens. All right, let's talk about Trevor Gott. So Trevor Gott appeared in 30 games for Seattle, had a 4.03 ERA, a 32-8 strikeout to walk ratio, 29 innings. And then he gets traded in a trade that I will talk about in just 1 second to the New York Metropolitans. 34 games for them, 29 innings, so even split. 4.34 ERA, so worse in that regard. 30-11 strikeout to walk ratio, worse, but pretty close to the same thing. 4.34 ERA, which I think I mentioned. So 64 total appearances, a 4.19 ERA. Pretty similar to the numbers he put up for Milwaukee the year before, but for kind of more high leverage stuff for him this year. And I think for the most part, Gott was successful. And for those who don't remember, Gott was traded along with Chris Flexen, who we talked about, over to the Mets in a move for Zach Muckenheim, who did not play for the Mariners, was on the 40-man roster for about 8 minutes, but did not play for the Mariners. And I think that trade still irks me. Your argument is going to be, Chris, all teams do this. All teams attach players to get rid of salaries. All teams do this. And it was just a mid-rotation, not even mid-rotation, middle inning arm. Okay. You shouldn't have to make that type of move. And Gott helped more than he hurt. Was he perfect? No. Was he in danger of losing his spot in the bullpen? I suppose so. But I would rather had him than a lot of guys that they pitched at the end of the year. I certainly would have. And I just think it's such a bad look for a team that isn't willing, for lack of a better term, willing trying to be as diplomatic as possible here, to spend big bucks, it's not a great look that you had to attach a perfectly usable reliever in order to get rid of Chris Flexen's contract. There's no salary cap, folks. In the NBA and NFL, although you never see this in the NFL anymore, or heck, ever, you don't see salary cap dumps with another player attached to it. I've never seen it anyway. See it in the NBA all the time. Yeah, it makes sense. There's literal rules. Just being cheap frustrates me. And I'll be curious to see, Gott, I believe, is still under contract. He was really good. The Savant numbers are really good here. Does he get people to chase? No. Does he get a ton of whiffs? No. There are very few players that are better at avoiding barrels. 92nd percentile, only 5%, 4.5%, excuse me. Expected ERA well above average, average exit velocity above average, walk percentage above average, hard hit percentage above average. Not an elite guy, but pretty darn good. And better than the options that they had at the end of the year. Quite a few of them, in my humble estimation. So if I was going to grade Gabe Spire, and I think I forgot to give a grade to Cooper Hummel, incomplete, 26 plate appearances, I guess. I would give Gott a B-. I thought he did a nice little job. I was surprised by his placement on the WAR list in this, but it just goes to show you that relievers have to be just absolutely dominant to be high on this list. And I think that's, your argument for why you traded him in the first place is because you can find guys like Gott. I don't think they did a great job of finding guys like Gott last year, but as many of you have pointed out in these videos through some of the other relievers like Penn Murphy and stuff, it's one thing they do pretty darn well is finding these type of guys. Now, do you think you're probably asking, maybe you're asking, it's possible you're asking, is Cody Bolton one of those guys? So Cody Bolton comes over to the Mariners as a player to be, not even a player to be named later. What are you talking about, Christopher Crawford? He comes over for cash considerations from the Pittsburgh Pirates. Struggled, to say the least, in his time with the Pirates. Put up decent numbers in AAA. I don't have them in front of me, but you can look them up. You're big boys and girls. Sweeper guy. And the Mariners have done pretty well with this type of profile. I'd imagine he competes for one of the final spots in the bullpen. I also wouldn't be shocked if, hopefully, again, the Mariners are making a ton of roster moves this offseason. If he's one of the guys they try to sneak through and is designated for assignment, wouldn't shock me even a little bit because he's not that good. He's a perfectly serviceable organizational arm who I think they would like to have in Tacoma. And at best, maybe he's that 12th or 13th pitcher to open the year. But I wouldn't count on it. I think there are better arms that will get that job. But it's fun to see a trade. Hope we see a bunch of them. Roster needs a lot of work. Yes, sir, Bob. It sure does. So, yeah. Trevor Gott, does that trade still bug you? Do you even care? It's totally fine if you don't. Cody Bolton, excited? Drop a line in the comments if you are. I dare you. I dare you. No, I'm just kidding. Please hit like and subscribe despite that weird little ending there. Follow me on those websites. Really appreciate your support. I think Monday I'm going to have a prospect-related video. I don't know if I'm going to do a full top 20, but maybe a little countdown thing that we'll start doing every Monday, counting down from like top 25 or something like that. Because I know you people eat prospect stuff up with a spoon. And the reason I know that is because I am people. I am one of those people who really likes prospect stuff. Thanks for watching. Go Rangers, I guess.